Oh, and Lewis recently like upped his Patreon from $5 to $20. So I say we do back to back Lewis picks.
There you go. That son of a bitch.
He just jumped to the front of the line.
There you go. That's how it works.
Yeah. Give us more money and we give you the world. Greetings, citizens of New Detroit and or Delta City. Welcome to episode 74 of the LaserComb Podcast, the show where we comb through random episodes of classic TV with a fine-tooth laser. I am, as always, Christopher Siege, one of your hosts.
I'm your other host, NeoCal.
And this week on the LaserComb Podcast, we are continuing on with our Patreon picks. And this is a Patreon pick from our longtime patron and listener, Lewis. Sort of a Patreon pick. And
yeah.
Sort of. So, one of the things that he pitched us was a series of TV movies called RoboCop Prime Directives. Those are feature length, so I kind of disqualified them a little bit, but I love RoboCop, so in lieu of Prime Directives, I'm like, hey, let's do a random episode of RoboCop, the series from 1994.
Go ahead and shock the flat line, then let's quit.
Okay, everybody clear.
Officer Alex Murphy shot to death in the line of duty.
Legally, he's dead. We can pretty much do what we want.
There's a new guy in town. His name's RoboCop.
Murphy, it is you.
And here we are, born to be cyborgs.
Metal Kings.
Born to be Metal Hearts. Metal Hearts.
What is that from? Why do I know that?
That is a song by the German heavy metal band Accept.
Maybe I've heard you sing that before.
Could be.
That's the only way.
I was really into them when I was in high school. They do that song, you get your balls to the wall, man.
Oh, that's them?
That's them, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, they got lots of great songs. Lots of great albums.
Speaking of Metal Heart,
Speaking of Metal Hearts, I am the modern man.
I immediately thought that.
And another reason for going with RoboCop the series in lieu of Prime Directives is Prime Directives was only 4 TV movies, whereas this was a full season of television, 23 episodes. Got lots more randomness to potentially land on. And indeed, we landed on the final episode of the series, episode 23, which was, what's it called? Oh, apparently Roddy Piper guest starred in an episode of this show. Roddy Piper himself. So this was episode 23, Public Enemies. It originally aired on November 21st, 1994. So here's the thing. I don't remember a ton about this episode, gotta be perfectly honest.
We both watched it today.
We both watched it today. I've had a very long day, though.
So the long story short for me, and then we'll get into Siege's long story short, was that these are longer episodes. They fill an hour block of television.
Yeah.
And it's very cop-like. The production value is high when it involves like RoboCop. The characters are quirky. the plot, like it was like $50, like the scene and like the moving the plot, it was like $50 and like a tank of gas for this episode. Oh, and renting a hotel room.
So here's the thing: I had a really hard time like actually following what the like menagerie of bad guys in this episode, like what their actual like plan was.
I
It was a bunch
It
of
wasn't
convoluted
well.
bullshit.
Okay, so there's an inmate. Can't remember the dude's name, but he's very smart.
He's a doctor, so let's just call him Mad Scientist.
Mad scientist doctor. Okay, but he's behind bars.
And he has psychic powers, apparently.
I can't
They
remember exactly what his fucking
No,
deal is, but
has-
he's very smart. He
has
understands
some-
probability, and he can predict things.
Yeah,
And he's a vegetarian.
They stop short of actually saying psychic powers, but he straight up mentions about being like able to like tune his mind into like the like criminal like psychic wave or some kind of bullshit.
We call those beta waves.
Not alpha waves.
No, that's why nobody can read our minds.
That's what we're giving off right here.
So they're like, okay, dude, we need you. They give him special like treatment because he's dangerous, but he can also like help, much like real life. And it's like, oh, somehow somebody hacks into his TV that he has in his cell.
Right.
And while he's watching news, there's like a fake news channel like delivering him a message.
It's like a video call that's going. This is later in the episode, but it's like a video call that's going on between him and one of his like co-conspirators. And in order,
a cop walks into the right.
A cop walks in, and his co-conspirator on the video call decides to pretend like he's delivering like a news report.
Oh, and that's why wear your raincoat when you go out,
Which
tomorrow night. And
I chuckled about that.
That was funny. I wonder why they installed a two-way video, like so he could FaceTime his buddies on the outside. You'd think it would just be a monitor.
You would think. So,
but yeah,
RoboCop the series originally aired for one season in syndication in 1994. Here's the thing: I watched this show back in the day.
No,
I did totally.
I didn't even know it existed.
Oh, I remember seeing commercials for it on TV when I was a kid in '94.
They did a great job with RoboCop.
Yeah, and I really like the actor who plays him, and the actor who plays him does the mannerisms really well.
Does the mannerisms? You could tell me it's the same actor and same suit, and I would actually believe you.
I think
there's some things that are a little different.
I think they may have like reused like the mold or something from the suit from the first movie. There's some
it's so
alterations.
Good. Yeah,
but it's definitely
as he gets upgrades in the there's some alterations. The gloves are a little bit different, but that's just being like nitpicky at this point.
And his he has like shoulder pads.
Yeah,
I noticed later in the episode that I'm like, I just watched RoboCop the movie recently, and he definitely didn't have shoulder pads like that.
I think he gets like upgrades because this episode in particular involves the conflict around him getting new upgrades. Right. So there's like a story hidden in the story, and if you don't watch it all in one run and you're not like paying super attention, basically he's getting upgrades. And he's hesitant about it because it's like, well, who provides like the upgrades?
Who watches the Watchmen?
Who watches the Watchmen? And if you know anything about contracting work and construction, all of that, the cheapest bidder that can do the thing that you want usually gets it.
Totally, yeah. And that's even true in like the corporate world,
right? And what they don't know at the time, but we find out, or we know, the viewer, is his shit has been like replaced with explosives.
Yeah. Yeah, we find that out later on in the episode. So
Yep.
before we get fully like full whole hog, I can speak, I swear.
Before we get half hogged and cyborged up,
Half hogged. I want to talk about RoboCop as a character and a property first. So, RoboCop the series is based on the 1987 Paul Verhoeven film RoboCop, which Paul Verhoeven, you may know him as the director of such classics like Total Recall and Showgirls and Starship Troopers. um,
I do like Total Recall. I do like Starship Troopers. And I don't know, I was like 15 when I watched like Showgirls and
I've never seen it. It has quite a cult following now.
oh,
I just remember that it like completely bankrupted the studio who produced it because it bombed. It bombed so hard, and it was like way over budget. It was way more expensive to make Showgirls than you would think for a movie like that. Like I think it had a budget of like 90 million or something like that in the mid 90s.
if you told me anything over than like 5 million, I would have been surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie had a crazy budget and it bankrupted the studio because it bombed. Director Paul Verhoeven.
45 million.
Oh,
But
okay,
that's not
45.
including $90 million if you adjust for inflation.
Oh, that's probably what I was thinking of then, yeah.
There you go. You got it.
So Paul Verhoeven quite famously threw the script for RoboCop in the trash after reading it because he thought it was terrible. Didn't even finish it, apparently. His wife dug it out of the trash and decided to read through it and told him, "Hey, this is actually a really like fun like satire of like 80s corporate culture. There's a lot of humor in here. I think there's something here." So he gave it another shot and they read it together and he agreed to sign on and direct. RoboCop was originally played by Peter Weller of films like The Naked Lunch and The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
When you first had mentioned that to me, I can't remember when or where. I was like, you're just making this up, clearly. And then I Googled it and I was like, hot damn.
It's an
I missed
actual
out.
movie.
I clearly missed out.
It's a very wild film. One of the reasons why Peter Weller was cast is because he was actually a trained ballerina.
That's cool.
And they wanted, which is wild to think about now because as an old man, he tends to play like tough guy roles, like very like almost like Clint Eastwood, like hard ass like type roles. But it's
Right.
like this guy was a fucking ballerina in his youth. But yeah, they wanted someone who really could move. And I mean, RoboCop is kind of the opposite of a ballerina. Like he moves like a tank, essentially. But they wanted someone who understood, like
Had control of their body,
Yeah,
different parts of it, could isolate movement.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That makes total sense.
RoboCop was a huge hit. And it is indeed one of my favorite movies of all time. It's been one of my favorite movies since I was a little kid. Couldn't even tell you the first time I watched it because it's just always been a movie that's been part of my life.
Right.
I remember RoboCop 2 coming out, and I remember that being a new release because that came out in 1990.
Damn.
So like I still remember like seeing RoboCop 2 for the first time. Peter Weller returned in RoboCop 2. It was not nearly as well received as the first film. I've always enjoyed it, and indeed, what I've noticed in recent years is that a lot of people have come around on RoboCop 2.
I've noticed that too.
Which is weird because even as recently as like 10 years ago, like people still shat on RoboCop 2.
Yeah.
But
It
now
was just common.
but now I've noticed like these days, like RoboCop 2 is mentioned almost as fondly as the original at this point. Which I'm like, hey, cool.
Yeah.
Fun fact about RoboCop 2, the fight that happens in the third act of that film between RoboCop and RoboCane, who's the villain of that film, was the inspiration for the third act fight at the end of the first Iron Man movie between Iron Man and Ironmonger.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, totally.
Huh.
It's like one like kind of one metallic like figure going up against like another like machine figure that's like 3 times its size,
Yeah,
rampaging through buildings and through a city streets. Yeah.
I like that.
RoboCop 2 was followed up with RoboCop 3 in 1993, which had the perception of that film has not changed at all, and with good reason.
Yeah, something to admit. I've mentioned this to Christopher, like, oh, but this is years ago before we started podcasting. It was like a birthday or something like that. You mentioned to me RoboCop 3, and I thought you were making a joke about like a movie that wasn't being made. And I was like, oh, maybe you should make it. And you were like, no, there is a RoboCop 3. And I was like,
yes, he has a jetpack and fights robot ninja androids.
And up until now, all the way up to that, right? And including like recently until you just mentioned it, completely out of my head. I've never seen it and never even heard of it. And I'm like,
you're not missing much. RoboCop 3 completely bombed at the box office, and the franchise went kind of dormant for a while after that. But not too long, and I think it's because the show had already been made. But RoboCop the series premiered a year later in 1994. Fun fact about RoboCop 2. RoboCop 2, the script was originally written by Frank Miller. And indeed, he's the credited screenwriter.
cool.
His script that he wrote was deemed horrendous and was rewritten so much that the final movie that we got has barely anything in common with his original script. And he was so pissed off about the whole experience that he left Hollywood and wasn't interested in making movies again until his Sin City adaptation that came out in 2005. Now in the early
So he just left for a decade.
Yeah, went back to comics. He's like, fuck this, I hate Hollywood. They're tarnishing my work.
Damn.
In I think it was 2003, a comic book was released called Frank Miller's RoboCop, which was based on his RoboCop 2 script.
Right.
I was really excited for that to come out until I read it. And indeed, the movie that we got, the actual RoboCop 2 that we got, while not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination, is significantly better than Frank Miller's original script.
Oh, really? The one he was pissed off and left Hollywood about.
Yeah. The one that he was
was worse than RoboCop 2,
which
worse. Everybody has shit on for like 20 years.
Yeah. It's significantly worse. And indeed, that's not just me saying so. I was reading up about it recently. And that was the general like consensus. Like Google like Frank Miller's RoboCop sucks, and you'll get like a bunch of like reviews and like Reddit threads coming up about people just like shitting on how terrible it is.
Oh, I think you shared something. Uh-oh. They're after me.
Oh, it's Robo.
It's
Robo's
Robo something. Robob. No, I have a secret base. They can't find me. Unless. What the heck was I even going to say? The sirens
Peace,
threw me
officer.
I can't remember. Something about robots. Oh, right. Yeah, you had mentioned that script had like come out. And it was like years ago you had shared it or you had like mentioned it or whatever. And I remember checking the beginning of it out and I checked out. Like I was like, I made it like 5 pages like in. And I was like, I have better things to do with my time. It seems as bad as everyone said, so I'll take their word for it and live my life. You can find it, people.
There is a TV tropes page for Frank Miller's RoboCop.
There is? Holy shit. You could check that out.
Let's see.
Oh, God.
Tropes present in Frank Miller's RoboCop. Attempted rape. A man tries to hire a hooker. When she rejects him, he threatens to rape her. He doesn't more than threaten her as Murphy drives by and kneecaps the punk.
Oh, shit.
Author appeal. Frank Miller wrote the original script, so of course prostitutes and other women in various states of undress are in it.
Yeah.
Author tract. As noted on the second page, Frank Miller is not fond of political correctness or pop psychology, hence the villain being a pop psychologist who's obsessed with political correctness.
And this was in
1990.
Okay.
Depraved homosexual. Character named Kong kisses another character named Stilson's corpse. A rehab. Rehabs are like this, force, basically, trying to get people out of old Detroit so Delta City can be built.
Right.
And Kong is also a sadistic bastard, killing several people as both a rehab officer and as RoboCop 2. So it's not Kane, he becomes RoboCop 2. Let's see. Hotter and sexier. Outside of a few seconds of bare breasts in 2 scenes in the original film, there isn't much way of fan service in the original trilogy. This being written by Frank Miller, there's a lot more scantily clad women here.
The only thing we missed out on. Although 1990s, early 1990s wasn't ready for that. We needed the edgy, aughts.
A politically incorrect villain, the Rehabs, which mimic stereotypes of Native Americans when they're torturing characters. So, yeah, you get the idea.
Somehow worse than I imagined. I imagined it being bad in the sense that it was boring or the plot didn't fit to the vibe of RoboCop, but
it definitely doesn't.
That actually just sounds like fucking hot. I have a message to deliver to people garbage.
Yeah. Anyway, so from RoboCop 3 we get RoboCop the series. Mm-hmm. And after RoboCop, there was also a couple of animated series over the years. In the early 2000s, we got that 4 series of 4 TV movies that I mentioned, RoboCop Prime Directives.
Right.
And then nothing until 2014 when there was a remake of RoboCop, which actually isn't as bad of a movie as you would think. It just doesn't feel like RoboCop. If it was called something else, if it was just another story about a guy being turned into a cyborg, then it would be a perfect.
I've only seen clips of it, never watched the whole thing, and the clips made it seem interesting.
Also, he kind of looks like Iron Man. Iron Man in black armor. Iron Man meets the Dark Knight, basically.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. But that was very much the kind of suit aesthetic in action and superhero movies in the 2010s.
Yeah. People are like, oh, you can't really put a style on people style, you can't really say, oh, that's 2010s fashion or that's 2000s fashion. But what you can do is judge the era of movies.
Oh, I can definitely start to point. You can see 2000s.
We've talked about 2000. Oh, 2000s fashion. I would say yes, but I've been seeing TikToks of people saying there hasn't really been 2010s or 2020s fashion.
It's because we're back. Things have become cyclical again. 90s fashion was in for a few years in the late 2010s.
Definitely.
I remember being at a restaurant with my former partner and looking outside and seeing a bunch of teenagers who looked like they walked off the set of Mallrats.
Bleached tips and...
No, not bleached tips, but just big baggy white t-shirt, baggy jeans, a button-up shirt over a t-shirt, the kind of like bowl cut going on. I was like, what the
What the
fuck?
fuck?
But apparently 2000s fashion is starting to come back into style, particularly 2000s goth fashion. I've been noticing.
I've noticed that too. I was like, hey, we ready to bring like Blade, the Matrix back?
Yeah.
Well, we kind of had a very short like conversation over text about that. You were watching Blade,
Yeah.
OG Blade, and you're like, this came out like a year before the Matrix. And everyone
Yeah,
talks about how the Matrix influenced like fashion and movies.
Yeah,
But
there,
Blade
there's
came out first.
there's bullet time in Blade, and it came
Oh,
out
shit.
a year before the Matrix.
Yeah,
There's a
is.
shot with like slow motion bullets where like the villain of the film,
Bad guy dude is like morphing and yeah.
and he like slow mo like moves out of the way.
Yeah, and thinking about that, I was like, oh, 100%. 100% some of the aesthetic and the style of Blade was an influence for The Matrix. You
believe-
cannot like watch those movies back to back and then be like, nope, no influence whatsoever. I'm like, yeah, all black leather, the black sunglasses,
the trench coat,
the trench coats, fuck off. The kung fu, like we could go on and on, like the bullet time slow mo like thing.
the electronic soundtrack,
Oh, right.
the
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah.
And The Matrix, their like rave and club scenes hold nothing on that opening blood rave scene.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. I wish Marvel
Also,
would just bring Blade back or bring Wesley Snipes back for this Blade
well, he's like
reboot that they're making.
he's like hiding out because like he's like tax evade wanted
No,
for
not
tax
anymore.
evasion and
No,
stuff.
he
Oh,
served his
is
time.
that done?
He served his time ages ago. Yeah,
I
he
wasn't
was
sure.
In,
Yeah.
he was in one of the Expendable movies.
Right. How's he looking now?
Probably fine. And it's like, yeah, you can say that he's like, like 60 years old. But
Oh,
like,
he's looking fine.
But like the guy that they cast as Blade in the MCU for this movie that keeps getting delayed for a myriad of reasons.
Right? Yeah.
He's only 10 years younger than Wesley Snipes.
I'm looking at 2023 Wesley Snipes, and this guy is fly as fuck. He
Yeah.
looks like a Marvel villain.
Yeah, like and the guy that they cast to play him, play Blade in the reboot, like isn't even much younger than Wesley Snipes now. Like at least
Yeah,
Wesley
he's
Snipes,
thin. He's
when
looking
he-
good.
at least when Wesley Snipes played him like 25 years ago, like he was in his mid 30s. Anyway, that's a different rant.
It's a different rant.
It's a different
The
rant.
beginnings of a rant.
So
Yeah, I say bring him back. Like, goddamn.
totally. So RoboCop is one of my favorite franchises of all time. The original movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. I mentioned I used to watch this show. Had really liked RoboCop video games when I was a kid, especially RoboCop versus the Terminator on SNES. Game was sick.
Never played it.
And in fact, there is a new RoboCop game that just came out called RoboCop Rogue City. And after
I saw someone playing it.
Yeah, I decided to just up and it's a brand new game, so I paid full price for it, which I don't do a lot anymore. After watching this show and getting into like Robo Fever, I decided to just straight up buy RoboCop Rogue City and start playing it.
Robo Fever.
Robo Fever. So this episode begins with who. So in the tone of the show is more in line with RoboCop 3. I'd say it's better than RoboCop 3, but it's more in line with RoboCop 3 than 1 and 2.
Okay.
I mean, it's definitely like it's a syndicated TV show. It's PG. It's definitely like aimed at kids. I mean, I watched this when I was 9.
Right.
Um,
You know what? That makes sense now. After having watched it, it being aimed more towards kids. I mean, not like young kids, but like,
like 10
10 to, yeah. I can see that now.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of like if you think too hard about like the plot, you're like, wait, what? But as
I was
kids, you
doing
want to
throughout
see
this
the
episode.
yeah. As kids, you want to see the goofy bad guys, right? And you want to see RoboCop like he's more of a detective in this episode than like a cop.
Makes a lot of wisecracks too, which
right?
most of them actually made me chuckle.
I'm not gonna lie, that's what I mean. The scenes with RoboCop are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this movie doesn't really like acknowledge the existence of the sequels, and in fact, it's kind of much like the Crow TV show, which we should also review an episode of.
Right?
The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. Better show than you would think. And the guy who played Eric Draven in that show ended up going on to be the chairman in Iron Chef America.
No shit.
Yeah, so when I first saw Iron Chef America, I was like,
you were like,
shit.
Draven?
I was like, holy shit, it's Mark Dacascos. I haven't seen that. The only thing I've ever seen that guy in was the Crow TV show.
Huh.
But yeah,
Wasn't there a Crow video game?
There was on PS1, yeah, based on the second movie, The Crow City of Angels. Never played it. It's apparently not very good.
I did. It was bad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember renting it one time. Wasn't great. It was like a beat 'em up. Which I guess I don't know, I was expecting something more like, I don't know. Young me made a lot of bad decisions. What can I say?
Something a little more like Soul Reaver, maybe.
Yeah, like a little bit stealth, a little bit action, exploration. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So much like the Crow TV show, RoboCop the series kind of uses the first movie as like a jumping off point, but also like kind of readapts the story too. Like it takes the basic plot of like the first movie, but also like kind of retells it and like makes its own like changes to it to fit into its own like continuity. Most of the characters in the show are based on characters from the first movie, but for some reason they all have different names, which I kind of wonder if maybe was like a licensing issue or something. So we've got Detective Lisa Madigan, who is basically Officer Lewis in this show.
Yeah.
But she's been promoted to a detective. But it's Murphy's like former partner. Or partner when he was still a human cop.
Okay.
So Detective Madigan goes to this hospital with Mad Scientist Man, and he's all like, "Hello, Clarice."
Except he's like a little bit more of like a goof.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I didn't mind him.
And he like gives her information about like some like kind of like plot going on involving like the president who is coming to visit Delta City. And
right. To see if he can like psychic
link, like
see what's up,
like what they like the whatever is going on. Interestingly enough, did you recognize the voice of the sergeant, the police sergeant at the precinct?
No.
He is played by Blue Mankuma, who voiced your man Tigatron in Beast Wars.
Huh. Okay, that's what it is. Yeah.
So to really like kind of like gloss over like the plot of this episode, so we got Mad Scientist guy with psychic powers.
Yeah.
He's working with the cops.
Oh, he's working with the cops.
We find out that some higher up at OCP is doing some bullshit to like in an effort to like drive the stock price down so he can like buy up a like majority share
so that he can do like a takeover or something.
So he can take over OCP from the old man.
Right.
This also involves the recurring villain of the show, Putface Morgan, who is just a guy with like a really gross, wrinkly face.
He's got that like Six Flags old man face.
Yeah.
That old Six Flags mascot.
Buttface Morgan goes to like the breaks into like this police armory, and his henchmen like hilariously look like the Hamburglar. They all look
Yeah.
like there's 4 of them, and they all look like the Hamburglar.
They do, yeah. That's
RoboCop,
how you know they're bad guys.
RoboCop shows up to like stop them, and he does. Putface Morgan gets away by like tossing a grenade, and RoboCop, thinking on his feet, hits the button to a blast door, and the grenade explodes. And this made me laugh. There is a like good like 2-second delay from when the grenade blasts like explodes, and we see and hear it explode, to when RoboCop hits the metal door. That he's standing literally right in front of.
Well, you know, explosions travel really, really slowly.
He was standing right in front of the door,
Don't worry about it.
like 6 inches maybe in front of the door, and there's a good like 2-second delay from the explosion going off and we seeing a visual on the other side of the door of him, like an indentation like being put through it, RoboCop size indentation. I don't know, made me laugh.
Right, and they were trying to get... I can't remember what they were doing.
Putface Morgan was destroying all of... They don't know at this point, but he was seemingly destroying all of RoboCop's spare parts.
Right, that's what it was.
That's what they find in this armory.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of other villains involved who don't really, in this like plot between Putface Morgan, this OCP executive guy, Mad Scientist Man.
Yeah, Mad Scientist Man.
And there's a couple of other like recurring villains who are part of this plot, but they don't, as far as I could tell, they don't really seem to add anything to it.
No, they come and go.
They're kind of just there.
Yeah, they're there because in the way that the villains were there in like that Adam West Batman show.
Right.
Sometimes like extra villains would just be like there for a scene and then like leave as like part of it's like recurring, hey, by the way, these guys exist.
We don't see it in this episode at all, which kind of surprised me. I wonder if there's a plot related reason, because this is the final episode. But there's a hologram lady who's friends with RoboCop in this show, and you see her in the introduction.
Oh.
And if I recall correctly, what happened was she was the secretary of some like evil OCP scientist. I think it might have even been Mad Scientist guy. And he like removed her brain and put it into like a computer system. And so now she just exists as a brain in a jar, in a cyber jar, basically. But she can like project like a hologram version of herself. And she helps RoboCop throughout the show.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I always liked her. I was disappointed she wasn't in this episode.
Huh.
There's also an annoying kid in this show, which I'm glad was not in this episode.
Yeah, there's no annoying kid in this episode.
You see her in the intro as well. She's the kid who goes like, "Wow."
Well, I'm glad that there was no annoying kid.
She's basically the annoying kid from RoboCop 3.
Doesn't even exist as far as I'm concerned.
It's probably for the best
this time.
So, like, yada yada. There's this plot with this like menagerie of supervillains and this OCP guy, and they figure out what they want to do is assassinate the president, who, as I mentioned, has come to Delta City on a visit. Yep. They want to assassinate the president because RoboCop and OCP are acting as like protection for the president. So if the president gets killed on their watch, OCP will be at fault, company stock prices will go down, and evil OCP guy, the guy who like faked being a newscaster on the Zoom call, he can like buy up all the shares and take over the company.
Chaos. Well, it's a really convoluted plot to like do some insider trading.
And the person who's going to kill the president and take the fall for it is Putface Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
But Putface Morgan, once he kills the president and gets some money somehow, plans to actually double cross the OCP guy and make off with all the money.
Yeah. I don't know where he'll get that money, but
I don't know. I don't know where this. I couldn't tell you.
Putface Morgan is like,
from.
is like the boomer of the show, and he doesn't understand how stocks work. He thinks he can just like pick up a big bag with like a money sign on it,
A big
and like
escape. Scrooge McDuck like money bag.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, that's kind of what his plan was at the beginning of the episode, except instead of money bags, it's like ammo bags.
Yeah.
Pretty much. This guy just likes to steal things.
He just likes to steal things.
And potentially kill presidents. RoboCop figures all of this out in a scene that actually made me really laugh. Like, because we see like Robo's like heads up display, like RoboVision. And he starts seeing like little mini like TVs, like little mini screens, like just flashing back to various things throughout the episode. And hilariously, one of them is just an explosion.
Right.
Like most of it is like characters like kind of like pondering and like postulating like potential like motives and whatnot. And then like I think like the second to last one that comes up is literally just a building exploding.
So what was that exactly? Like,
I don't know.
Was he tapped into the Matrix?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you, honestly.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay, maybe Christopher can explain that one. I think he was like running probabilities, right, of things that have happened and things that might happen, and then he like came to the conclusion that
a building might explode.
But like the bad guy already told them that was going to happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So mad scientist guy convinces. So I guess like the head of like the Secret Service is now working with the Delta City Police and like Detective Madigan, and he's all like, "I want to meet your source." So she takes him to Mad Scientist.
Right.
And Mad Scientist is like, I can help you, but I need to be there and out in the field in order for my psychic powers to work. Ooh. And they're like, damn it, he's right. All right, slap the cuffs on him. Let's go. And then, wouldn't you know it, when he's there, like he betrays
Wouldn't
them.
you know it?
Gets free.
Who would have thought that like one elderly, like overweight guard that they left him with would have been their folly?
Right.
There's just like an old dude, probably like, like works in Secret Service, retired cop or like whatever, who's just like reading a magazine, like looking over this guy as they're hanging out in like a hotel room.
When we meet the president, we find out that the president in this universe is a woman, which, very, very progressive for 1994. I mean, it still hasn't happened yet, so
yeah,
they were peering really far into the future.
Very far into the future. But
what I found funny is like the first husband is kind of depicted as being a bit of a bumbling idiot.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Like in the hotel room, he turns on the TV and turns on like a rock music video, and he's just all like, yeah, like bobbing to it. And she's like, honey, please. And he's like, oh, okay. And shuts it off.
Okay.
And then that same song plays at the end of this episode, and it's apparently by Lita Ford. I'm like, wow, wait, this is a real song with like RoboCop in the music video for it and everything? Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, cool, I guess. All right. It's not a particularly good song,
but yeah, they managed to get out, and none of the bad guys want to blow themselves up. They want to escape.
Right.
But RoboCop immediately, I'm talking like 30 seconds. They even have like Hitman 47, the guy, the assassin that comes to like save him. sorry, like evil genius, um, they like dress up as like hotel staff somehow. It's
as you
not
do.
shown, it just happens off screen. And like before they can even like get down a stairwell into the exit, like RoboCop finds them.
See,
And it
what
was
they,
like, you guys had a whole hotel and you couldn't get like past like RoboCop somehow.
See, what they do is they walk past a like large like pillar in the middle of the room, and we see them walk through one side, and then we hear like a zipper like zip down and then zip up, and then they immediately emerge from the other side of this pillar, like dressed in this outfit, these outfits.
I'm just surprised that Agent 47 can get changed that quickly.
Yeah. uh, so RoboCop figures it out somehow. Putface Morgan is outside. He's in a like hit him and like the other two, like two of his crony, like the two like villains that I said don't really seem to add anything to what's going on. They're just part of this plan because reasons.
Reasons.
He tells them to get out of the van because RoboCop's mine.
Oh my god.
And
I remember that, and they're like, what are you talking about? Let's get out of here. And he's like, get out of the van. You wouldn't understand. It's between me and the tin can.
And then the most hilarious thing happens. He tries to play chicken with RoboCop, and RoboCop just like sidestepped and pushes his hand out.
He sidesteps and like backs up very like quickly and just
casually like shoves his hands forward, knocking the van over. I laughed so hard.
Yeah, sending it like careening off like the road. Yeah. And I was like, I mean, what did that guy think was gonna happen?
And then we find out, oh, there was a scene earlier in the movie where RoboCop's like science guy tells him, he's like, oh, because like all of your gear was destroyed, you're gonna have to use these like other things that I made,
right?
These things that we just had left over. And
don't worry about where they came from.
Robo ends up using one of them at one point. It's like a tracer that he can fire or something,
right?
And so he's like, yeah, let's do an equipment check, and he pulls out these two like bombs or something, I guess, that are in Robo's like non-gun leg, and he's like, huh, that's weird, the serial numbers are different. Oh, it must have been a cost-cutting measure or something on OCP's part to buy from different distributors. So this tips RoboCop off that like one of them is a plant by Putface Morgan, and we find out that it's a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Which Putface Morgan is like, haha, see? I've got you now, copper, and goes to detonate it.
Putface Morgan was betrayed earlier
by OCP guy, and he said, haha, suckers, and to cover his tracks, again, it seems like there's a cool like twist of an episode here. It's just like way overly convoluted. It's just convoluted. Folks. It's not like twisty.
And the guy's like, okay, I'm gonna go inside because I need to be there for like this reason. As soon as he leaves the big conspicuous red van in this like parking lot, he like plants a bomb on the outside of the van. And then when Putface Morgan, thinking that he has that he has the detonator for RoboCop, he has the detonator for the bomb that Corpo guy put on his own van.
There's also another I forgot about this. There's another Corpo guy, the head of security concepts, who is basically this show's Bob Morton. Like even right down to him having like a couple chicks like on each arm and
yeah.
He's basically Bob Morton in this universe. He gets kidnapped, and they go. Yeah, he's like in a van in a warehouse. Lots of vans in warehouses in this show.
Yeah. They had to. Hey, man, when they're renting out the warehouse, you got to use it.
So they go to save him, and that was the thing they fired the tracer on, was like the van that kidnapped him.
That's it. Yeah.
They go to save him. They find out there's a bomb in there, and Detective Madigan is like, we got to get him out of here. And RoboCop's like, there's no time. And so he pulls the bomb out, and hilariously, like, he shoots out the spike thing that he uses to like hack computers out of his fist. And he quite hilariously just like puts it into the middle of the bomb and just presses a tiny like red button.
I forgot about that.
It's like, like he basically took like one of those like things that one of those like paperclip things that you like put through a pinhole in your cell phone.
I was just going to say,
to eject your SIM card. It's basically just what he does to disarm this bomb.
Very, very technical. Very. Can I borrow that bobby pin? Yeah, he basically resets the cell phone, and that turns the bomb off. I forgot about that.
What's a man doing with a woman's bobby pin? Do you know what that's from? Airplane.
Oh, that's right. I'm like, oh, a comedy movie.
Yeah, I can't even remember what, but like the main guy does something with like solves some problem with a bobby pin, but like they don't back at like mission control, they don't know that he has like one of the like stewardesses in the cockpit with him.
Right.
So he does something with a bobby pin, and he's like, I got it. And they're like, oh, how? He's like, with what? What did you use? And he's like, a bobby pin. And they like put their hand over the mic, and they're like, what's a man doing with a woman's bobby pin?
I wonder how that movie holds up. It's been a hot like decade since I've seen it.
I watched it about 5 years ago, and I still laughed my ass off.
Should watch it.
It's, yeah. Some of the humor hasn't aged well, but like the thing is like there's nothing. It's not mean spirited. Like a lot of the dated humor in like a lot of those like 2000s spoofs, like it's just mean spirited humor.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't age well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like, I don't know, like two guys, literally just like two guys like in suits, like well dressed, like businessmen looking dudes, just like sitting, like speaking in jive to one another.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
I always forget his name. He's like iconic. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Leslie Nielsen.
There we go. Yeah,
Surely
classic.
You can't be serious. I am serious.
I am serious.
Don't call me Shirley.
And don't call me Shirley.
So RoboCop saves the day, and you can tell this is the final episode because like everyone's like applauding him at the end, and the president is like, Robo, what we could really use you on Washington. And he's like,
right.
He's like, sorry, Madam President, I am from Detroit, and somewhere there is always a crime being committed, and as long as the people need me, I will be here to protect them. He gives this really like cornball speech.
I didn't mind that speech.
And he walks away, and everyone's like, yeah, applauding. And he turns around and like waves bye to them. And then it freeze frames too. He waves.
Don't you forget about me. No, it doesn't freeze frame to that.
It freeze frames on him like raising his hand to wave goodbye to like all these people. And then that's the end of the series.
It's like they had the ending scene thought out, but not the ending episode.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't feel cool enough to be an ending episode.
No, unless they thought that their villains were in the show were all like just so cool enough that the notion of them like all teaming up to like assassinate the president was just this really like hype story. But it's like kind of isn't.
Kind of isn't. Oh, I can see that in hindsight now. Like when Evil Genius is in prison and he gets out, and like, you know, they all end up like talking and conspiring, and But the thing is, it's never all in like one big room, like one league of villains. It's like this guy talks to this guy and this guy talks to this guy. And then this person has a scene and suddenly there's a different guy in the van now. And you're like, okay, so the ugly guy's a bad guy and like other people are helping him for some reason. And everyone has their own like reason. Like somebody wants to take over like their company and get all the stonks. And like another guy just wants to kill the president because I don't know, like reasons. And it's like, it kind of falls apart.
And another
Not
guy,
as epic as us recounting it.
Another guy wants to be rich, and another guy is like trying to manipulate all of them. And then there's these two other guys who are just there.
We're just there. And I guess they just want to blow up RoboCop.
A piece of the action.
Yeah. Piece of the pie. And, well, there it is.
There it is. So, Cal, you just caught a random episode, which happens to be the final episode of RoboCop the series. Would you watch it again?
I don't think I would. I know you're a big fan of the Chrome policeman, but this nothing's drawn me to watch the rest of them.
It's all right. My leg is cramping really bad.
Oh, I thought you were reacting to the terrible news.
No, my leg's actually just cramping.
Why no. If I had like watched this,
Please change the channel back. You have 20 seconds to comply.
yeah, I would probably watch this if like nothing else was like on, but maybe just like not. Like I don't think I'd tune in next week.
That's fair. I have it downloaded. I might watch it. But I might also just play RoboCop Rogue City instead.
But you might also just play the modern game that just came out that you paid money for.
Yeah, I might just do that instead.
Yeah.
Well, that was episode 74 of the Lasercomb podcast. Best way to support the show is to go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. There are 3 tiers. There's the $5 tier, there's a $10 tier, and there's a $20 tier. Get all kinds of cool stuff in each of them, including commentary tracks and the ability to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this podcast, much like our patron Lewis did, sort of. So if you want to get in on that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Lasercomb. Follow me. Lasercomb. A fun fact that that very like Goa'uld System Lord sounding Lasercomb
is Goa'uld System Lord.
It is, yeah. It's just me like turning the pitch of my voice down like super low.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is how they did it in Stargate.
It all makes sense now.
It all makes sense. Follow me on Twitter at Lasercomb, or on Blue Sky at Lasercomb, or on Instagram at Christopher Siege, or if you want to look at my Xbox Live profile while I play RoboCop Rogue City, I am Lasercomb on there as well. Cal, where can people find you?
You can find me at Blue Sky as well, at NeoCal. I was in early enough to nab that. TikTok, Neo_Cal. On Dork Tales, doing different shows. We're actually doing Dragonlance Wednesday night. It's like a real play on Twitch for D&D, and we're doing a sponsored game called The World Below on Thursday nights.
Ooh.
So yeah, you can peek in twitch.tv/dorktales. And I'm a mushroom man on Thursday nights. Man of many mushrooms. Let's just say that my character may or may not have special healing herbs and spices and psychotropic mushrooms that heals people.
Does he speak in a Brooklyn accent, like certain
like Chris Pratt?
like destitute certain pair of destitute plumber brothers.
Destitute plumber brothers. I wish that would have been a good take. That would have been an interesting take on the character. Mamma mia! Yeah, the setting for that is like a world that's like underground. Like the idea of like a surface world is like mythological.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
My guy's a dwarf.
And that's at twitch.tv/dorktales.
That's right, on Thursdays. Like I said, that one's sponsored. So technically, I'm a professional voice actor now.
Sweet.
Just like we are professional podcasters. We're professional media review
Professional critics.
professional critics. Possibly professional journalists too. Well,
Maybe even legitimate journalists. I did actually study journalism though.
I know one of us is legitimate journalism, but definitely professional critics.
Yes.
Yeah. My mom said so. My mom gave me $5, so that makes me a professional.
I always say, someone asked me recently, they're like, so like, what is it? Like, just like your friends who like listen to your show? And I'm like, actually, no, not really. No, like barely anyone I know actually listens to my show. And
Yeah.
I'm like it. We got listeners from Canada, the US, Australia, the UK.
Right.
And they were like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like people like actually listening from like all over the world. And I'm like, yeah. And honestly, like I prefer that over my friends listening because like having your listener base be your friends kind of just feels like, man, my mom is my biggest fan.
But then it's also weird because it's like a one-sided parasocial relationship where like they listen to you for like hours upon hours, but like you don't listen to them. So it's like,
Well, I
kinda
mean,
weird.
that's how podcasting just works in general.
Yeah, but it's like it would be weird if it was like a friend.
Oh, yeah.
See what
fair.
I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? See what I'm laying down?
My girlfriend listens to our shows here and there.
Well, tell her to feck off. No, I'm no. Well, yeah, we talk. There's a lot of like overlap because she's like into different like animation, different anime. We've covered anime,
Yeah.
children's toys that transform into animals.
Speaking of which, she picked up my my big time Ronnie studio series, Rise of the Beasts leader class, Optimus Primal toy. I paid for it, but she picked it up for me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You know what? That is a. Did we end up liking that? Yeah, we thought it was fine, right?
Yeah, for the holiday special. Well, for one part of the holiday special,
Yeah.
which this year I want to do 3 parts. One of them, I think, I kind of want to do a commentary for Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we reviewed it, but like actually doing like live commentary.
Oh, an actual commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were originally going to jump over to our man Cone Killer Confusors Patreon pick, but that's going to get pushed back a week because Lewis, who sort of picked this show, recently boosted his patronage from $5 a month to $20 per month. And so, you know what? We're doing another Lewis pick.
That's right. That's right. You pay us and you get preferential treatment. I didn't make the system. I mean, we actually did, but we didn't make capitalism.
Lewis, you're getting back-to-back Patreon picks. So I think the only one left in the list that he sent me, like probably like a year and a half ago now, is Tech War.
Tech War.
Tech War, yes. It was a show from the night. I remember Tech War. I used to watch it. Tech War was a show in the 90s that I believe had William Shatner in it. Tech War. Oh, it's a series of novels created by William Shatner. Oh.
What? My mind is getting blown here.
Tech War. Yeah, William Shatner had a role in the show. So it lasted 2 seasons of
How did
22 episodes.
I've never heard of this.
Really?
When did this come out?
Let's see.
1994?
1994. Same time as RoboCop.
Virtual reality can be murder. What? When you thought the war was just in space or in the stars,
That's when
it became Tech War.
That's when it came for you.
That's when it came on your face. Stay tuned for Tech War. Tech War. I can't believe it's not butter.
I don't know.
I'm gonna hit screen share now. Computer still not blowing up.
This is like if Johnny Mnemonic had like a TV series.
So at the trusty random number generator, 1 random numbers between 1 and 22. And here we go. Tech War. 22.
Da, 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 da.
We landed on the last
We landed on the
episode.
last one. Hell yeah.
Again. Betrayal, which aired on
I'm liking what I see so far.
February 9th, 1996.
This has like old like 80s Shadowrun like vibes.
All right, so there you have it. We'll be back on the next episode with of the Lasercomb podcast with episode 22 of Tech War. And until then, I've been the Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm your other host, NeoCal.
And until next time, you have 20 seconds to comply.
You have 20 seconds to hit like and subscribe.
You now have 15 seconds to subscribe. I am
You
now
now have
you now have 5 seconds to subscribe. I am now authorized to use physical force.
I am now authorized to use Uwu Force. Uwu? Why won't you subscribe to us?
I am now
Not good looking enough to pull that off.
I am now authorized to use mammalial force.
That's me making confused and then happy and then scared faces. Mammalial as in memories or mammalial as in maximal?
I leave it open to interpretation.
Mother of God.
But
I don't know whether to run or...
One of those definitely makes more money than the other.
Oh, shit. Unfortunately, I know which one.
Yeah. Anyway, bye-bye.
Bye.
In the heart of the darkness, the light still burns.